Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Our largest single-theme land expansion ever.
Now we want you to share with us our latest and greatest dream.
Matterhorn Matt presents Matterhorn Mondays.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 126 of Matterhorn Mondays, coming to you live from the Outpost. I'm your host, Matterhorn Matt.
And I'm your host, Alex the Historian.
And today we are joined once again, guys. We promised it last week. We followed through. Jeremy is back again, everybody. Yay! Clapping for Jeremy. I don't have my other stream deck here, so I can't play my sound effects.
Yes,
but
Jeremy had to postpone a meeting with Whoopi Goldberg to be here, but
We're in talks. She might be reprising Calafia, Queen of California.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I'm trying to convince her to do
news.
that.
Nice.
That is just so random. But anyways, I guess that our intro song, you guys, we have Bob Iger saying words in our intro. That's old now. He's not the CEO anymore. That's a relic.
It's Disney history,
Yeah.
shall we say.
That's kind of weird to think about. But anyways, before we get into any of our main topics, as you guys know, we do stream these episodes live on the main channel as well as on the streams channel. Someone asked Tony Mac, what is Jeremy's background Disney-wise? So I figured, we have Jeremy on the show a lot. I know some of you may know him as the writer for, pretty much everything here on the channel. We've had Alex pretty much every single episode of the podcast, so I'm sure you're all well acquainted with Mr. Alex, the historian. But some of you guys might not know who Mr. Jeremy is. What makes him qualified to be on this panel of guests?
What makes him qualify?
Cool. Oh, that's a good one. All right. Well, Jeremy, so Mr. Tony asked, and we will.
Tony asked.
Please
Well,
explain.
I think you answered
no more
the
delays.
main
Don't let anybody
part of that
interrupt you
question.
talk.
It's been so. I guess experience Southern California, and so I've been a frequent visitor to Disneyland. It's also I have a pact with my family that we, no matter what we're doing in life, we always go to Disney World every 2 years. So I know a lot. I've experienced a lot of the parks, and when I was a kid, I was obsessed with the history of it naturally, so that why I'm here is like what Matt said. It's been a while. I mean, there's been a lot of newcomers the past couple of years. So whenever I was on the show, when I was first on the show, Matt would always introduce me as the writer for the channel. But that is, I would say, my most qualified background material for you, Tony, is that if you've seen an episode of Historyland over the past year and a half, maybe even more, almost 2 years now. Really? 2 years?
It's been 2 years.
Is that oh
almost
my
2 years?
God.
I think.
Almost.
Jeremy's starting to realize it's been too long.
If you've watched a Historyland episode over the past even year, I have written that episode and collaborated with Matt on making those episodes and developing new series. And okay, he's cutting me off. Thank you for sharing. Okay, great. That's it. All right. That was enough. You're right. Let's begin the show now.
Yeah, he's like, all right, that's all. That was good enough.
Got owned, Jeremy. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, anyways, before we get into our very lovely news from the peak, you guys, it's time for everybody's favorite segment here. And I'm very thirsty. I'm craving the Snapple, you guys. It's time for Matt.
Wait, you gotta play the theme song.
I was about to.
He has to say the name of the segment first.
I'm just saying because last time he forgot to do it.
That's true.
No, last week he played. I don't.
Did
know.
I?
I
he
don't
did
want to
it.
talk about. I don't want to talk
He
about.
forgot about it, and then someone had to remind him. Actually, I reminded him. Or did I remind him? Yeah, I reminded him, and then he had to play it way after, like an hour afterward.
It might have been. It's been too long since the last episode. But Matt snaps, everybody, yay!
A whole wide world of knowledge awaits underneath the cap. It's once again time this week for Matterhorn Snaps.
Yes! Matt snaps, you guys. Love the theme song. But same as always, you guys. Kiwi strawberry. I'm craving this mad right now, you guys. So let's go ahead and pop this open. That was a quality Snapple pop. Mosquitoes are attracted to people who have recently eaten bananas. I don't know the validity of that one. It sounds kind of sketchy to me.
Because when I was a kid, my grandmother used to tell me to repel mosquitoes, you eat a banana.
Oh. Maybe she wanted you to get eaten by the mosquitoes.
Listeria.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm tired of taking care of this kid. Know it all little. Yeah.
It's going. It's pouring, everybody. It's in the cup. The Snapple is in the cup. All right. Well, now that that's out of the way, we can get into everybody's second favorite segment, you guys. News from the Peak.
We now present to you News from the Peak.
From the Peak. And for our first bit of news from the Peak, guys, what's going on in the world right now? I have many questions to propose to you, but we're going to start off with this first topic. Beauty and the Beast prequel series coming to Disney Plus, centered on Gaston and LeFou. I want you to wrap your heads around this, you guys. I want you to wrap your heads around this. This is just the worst news. It's just the worst news ever. Who cares about these two people?
I was just going to say
movie?
Well, especially from the live action
Exactly.
remake. I mean, it's like that movie came out and nobody
out like
talked
4
about it
years
2 weeks
ago.
afterward
Yeah.
because
But-
obviously
and
the
the thing is
animated
that-
movie's better.
And the thing is that the whole point of these two characters is that they have no depth. They have no background. They're
yeah.
uninteresting characters. That's the whole point of their character.
Yeah.
Is that they're uninteresting. So why would you make a prequel series off of two characters who are intended to be flat characters?
Mm-hmm.
Just doesn't. Oh,
Very-
that just shows how backwards Disney in Hollywood is.
Guys, it looks like Alex is Gaston right now on the screen because his head is right where his head is.
Oh yeah, it does.
Well, guys, this is coming to us from the Diz Insider, one of my favorite Disney web sites, news websites. Go ahead and check them out on Twitter, all that stuff. Quote, the Untitled Limited Series will be a 6-episode musical event with composer Alan Menken, I think that's how you pronounce his name, and talks to return as well, and Luke Evans and Josh Gad are set to reprise their roles as Gaston and LeFou, respectively. The trade also reports that the project, which is currently in the very early stages of development, will take place well before the events of the film and also expand the Beauty and the Beast universe. Guys, they're making a cinematic universe out of Beauty and the Beast. Next thing you know, they're going to have a series centered around just Maurice, just him,
You know,
in his older days.
You know, the only way I'm going to watch this show is if they promise me that Gaston and LeFou once had a relationship. Then I will watch the show.
Okay.
I still won't watch it,
I
even
still
though that
won't
would
watch
be
it, yeah.
pretty cool.
That would be pretty interesting. Just because it's like, you know, who was Gaston? What was he like before he was like, you know, I'm going to go after this girl instead?
Who is Gaston, you guys? I don't even... It's been so long since I've seen the movie, but... Anyways, that does it for that just lovely piece of news. For our second bit of news from the
So
Peak.
absurd.
The Haunted Mansion at the Magic Kingdom recently went down for an extended period this past week. Apparently, the Doom Buggies had a major malfunction. Quote, guests who evacuated the attraction tell us that several of the Doom Buggies were turned the wrong way. Doom Buggies were either facing sideways or the wrong way completely. So, For some reason, this warranted like a 4 or 5 day closure of the Haunted Mansion just to get the Doom buggies fixed. But apparently all is well now. The Haunted Mansion at the Magic Kingdom has reopened, but it is a piece of news that happened this past week. Do you guys have any thoughts on this piece of news?
Well, that's interesting because so the Haunted Mansion at Walt Disney World and Disneyland, since they're the older ones, they used a mechanical system that turns them, and so it's possible that maybe like the teeth on the gears just kind of wore out and
forgot
they couldn't
to brush their teeth.
No. so yeah. So probably the teeth on the gears wore out, and that's probably why the motor wouldn't turn the Doom buggy. But like the Doom buggies nowadays don't work the same way. So in like newer rides and stuff like Mermaid, they don't work the same way. So but it's ironic though, because you'd expect that to happen more on the Little Mermaid ride, which is what happened when it first opened in 2011. Is like always the shelves were facing the wrong way. I don't know if you guys remember that. Like during the Kiss the Girl scene, the Doom buggies they're not the clamshells were facing the wall. Okay, wow. They weren't even facing the characters, and that was because like of the programming of turning the clamshells didn't always work, and so you'd go through like the Ursula scene and you'd be facing the other wall, or it was just like the weirdest thing ever. That happened. I was on one of those clamshells when it happened too, so I was like, what is this? What's going on?
Well, Jeremy, do you have any thoughts on this?
No.
Okay.
It's interesting. I would actually kind of want to be on the ride when that happened. Just like, ooh, I'm facing a different way. I've never been able to see this before. That's kind of cool. So, they fixed it, and it's wonderful.
I know, like,
happy it's open again.
If you were like on the Haunted Mansion, right, and you're like going through the ballroom scene, but you're going through facing backwards.
That'd be so cool.
I would love that. There's like this big long window with a cast member break room where they're all stuffing their faces and they're like
it's like a sponsor lounge. Like,
oh my god, yes.
Why is there this like mid-century modern room like in the Haunted Mansion? Wow. Interesting.
I like that. In the chat, Redmond's like, the ride programmer, Gorge.
Well, Tony asked when Disneyland's Haunted Mansion is going to be coming back from its refurb. I'm sure we announced a date, but I can't recall right off the top of my head if any of you guys happen to remember.
I actually looked last night on some websites to see if I could find out, and all it says is spring. So, but I imagine it'll be sometime in the middle of this month, because that's usually when spring break starts, and that's when Disney tries to have a bunch of rides open for spring break. So it'll probably be the middle.
Do we know, Alex, if they're doing something to any of the scenes that we should be concerned about or anything, or is it just like a really good solid refurb? Everything's going to look polished and fresh and
sorry, it didn't sound like you were done saying what you were saying.
No, I know.
Okay, that's just how you are. So I would, I've heard rumor, but I mean, I don't think there's anything to be concerned about, kind of. But there's a rumor about some kind of special effect wall that they're putting in. And it's being like, okay, a bunch of cast members are calling it the glowing wall, and I'm like,
okay, so projection mapping.
No,
no,
it's
good.
not. It's not supposed to be projection mapping. It's supposed to be some kind of new special effects.
Ooh, that's kind of like that. I like that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be something that they want to test out for future attractions, but they're trying it at the Haunted Mansion. But they haven't really said what it is exactly. Well, the only thing is that for some reason it glows, and I'm like, for what? Like what? Like is it glow in the dark wallpaper? Like what does that mean?
Supernatural.
Supernatural.
Guys, they're putting real ghosts in the Haunted Mansion, confirmed.
No, they're not, Matt. They're not. Listen.
But aside from that, I know that what they're doing was some major refurbishment work on the outside of the facade because the ground around the facade was settling. And so a lot of the awnings and lattice work and stuff were like warping. Like last time I was in line, you could definitely see like one of the stanchions that hold up the porch above us was completely like bowing outward like that. It was just like it was just weird. And I was like it was almost like the building was just kind of warping in weird ways. And so I know that they're trying to fix that, and trying to even out the ground. And then of course there's the wheelchair access. They're trying to create a specific entrance for the wheelchair access because currently if you're in a wheelchair and you try to enter the ride, you have to go through the main entrance gate, and it's a really narrow path that they reserve for you because it's split evenly into 3 sections, one for standby, one for fast pass, and one for wheelchair ramp, basically. And it's just not enough room. It's certainly not ADA compliant. I've seen people get their wheelchairs wedged in between the rope chains and the brick. So from what I was told, or initially, they're widening that pathway once you enter the gate. But some other people are telling me that around back where the exit of Haunted Mansion is, where there's currently like a small little stairway for guests with disabilities, that instead of a stairway there, they're going to turn that into a wheelchair ramp. So they don't even have to go through the main entrance of Haunted Mansion. So I don't know. I'm being told 2 different things, but that's for sure what's going on is fixing the warping building and then fixing the wheelchair access. Yes.
Cool beans. Yes. Insider info from Mr. Alex, the historian. But yeah, so when it would be reopening, I don't think we have a specific date that we can recall right off the top of our heads, but Alex said sometime in spring, so hopefully the mansion will come back this month in Disneyland. But for our final bit of news, were you going to say something, Alex?
Yes. In the chat, Barbecue Head said permits were submitted for lighted steel panels, but nobody knows what that means.
To summon the ghosts. Well, for our final bit of news from the peak, guys, this is an interesting one. Cast member blockouts extended through May at Disney's Hollywood Studios Park. High demand for new attractions like Rise of the Resistance and now Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway have been, I'm assuming, the cause of these blackouts, or blockouts, I guess. And it's worth noting that this will be 6 months of blockouts for cast members who have not been able to get into Hollywood Studios to experience the new rides, at least to been able to sign themselves into the park. I'm sure they could have still bought, like a separate ticket. But yeah, 6 months, you guys, of cast member blockouts of Hollywood Studios, all because of some silly rinky-dinky Star Wars ride and Mickey Mouse, his new ride. But yeah, do you guys have any thoughts on 6 months of these blockouts for cast members at Hollywood Studios?
There's a saying that I have developed after working a while in front of house positions, guest service positions, and I'll clarify what it means because it seems to confuse people when I say it first. But it's that when you work for a company for a while, you start to realize this, that the company hates their employees more than they love their guests, as in they will They're more willing to go out of their way to not value their employees than they are to go out of their way to give a good guest experience. And I think this is just a prime example of that. Unfortunately, Disney used to lead the way on valuing their employees and valuing their guests, but that's long gone out the window. It's a shame. And I remember seeing someone on Twitter yesterday saying something along the lines of, like, they were so sorry for all the people in the Disney college program who for their whole program aren't going to be able to step foot unless they're working there, but step foot in Hollywood studios, which is a shame because you think the college program exists to bring people in who want to learn about the company, learn about the park, learn about the design philosophies of what the Disney theme show is about, and also learn how the park operations work. And to be like, you're not allowed to experience and learn about one of the parks is atrocious. And there's no excuse for that.
Mm-hmm. Well said, Mr. Jeremy. Alex, do you have anything to add to that?
I have a different opinion than Jeremy on that. Because I think that...
And I know what you're going to say.
Okay. What am I going to say?
I think you're going to talk about crowds, right?
No.
All right. Surprise me. I'm excited.
Everyone thinks that's my go-to argument is crowds.
No, because it is a good. It's a good
crowds again.
It's a good counter. It's a good counter argument, is what I'm saying. But I'm ready for a better one. I'll just sit and.
So, it's true that Disney doesn't treat their cast members like they value them. But, they never, ever have. Not even in Walt's time. And the thing is that that's how all businesses are. It's just like, the only way you can treat a company like or treat your employees like you value them is if you're a small company, and you're very nice owners or something, in my business, I always try to treat my employees and show them like, I value their opinion. I value what they think, how they feel, all that stuff. I ask them about their day all the time and how are they liking working with us and stuff. Cause I want to know like if there's anything I can do for them because of the fact that I've worked at places like Disney who really don't care what you think. They say they care and they put out these dumb surveys like, how are you enjoying employment at Disney? And it's like, but they don't
Not
care.
how you do it. Yeah.
They don't care. But what I'm trying to say here is that these big corporations really don't care. And furthermore, I think that's not I don't think it's necessarily related that the company doesn't care about its employees, but at the same time, they're blocking them out of this park. It's really more like we want the first, year of experiences at the new Hollywood studios to be good experiences. I mean, everyone knows the park is super tiny and it didn't have much to offer until they started installing Galaxy's Edge, and Toy Story and whatever. But it's like they want to make sure that like how many people are in line and how long it takes to get on a ride, that it doesn't affect someone negatively because the park doesn't have much else to offer. And so that's the thing. And then lastly, when it comes to college program kids, I never enjoyed working with those kids. Never. Because you know why? There was only and I've worked with hundreds. I'm not even joking about hundreds. I really mean, in all the years I worked for Disney, I've had to work with hundreds of college program kids. And there's only 1% of them that really care about working there and, and trying to do right by Walt and all that stuff. The rest are just kind of like, oh, I like Disney because it's fun, and I thought this place was magical, but oops, I guess it's not. And it's like, well, you're right. It's not necessarily magical behind the scenes. You have to make it magical for yourself as a cast member.
Right.
That being said, one of the other reasons why I hated working with them was how complacent they all were when they got 3 months of seniority over me. Actually, no, it was more than 3 months. It was 6 months of seniority over me. And it was like, wait, no, not months, years. It was 3 years of seniority. Yeah, that's what it was. It was 3 years of seniority. So if you had worked there for 2.5 years, a college program kid who just walked in and is barely learning about Disney, gets 3 years of seniority and they get all the shifts. And it's like, why? Because, you're paying to go to college and you don't even want to be here because you're so complacent about it. It's like, dude, count your blessings. But anyway, before this turns into a rant about college program, I just want to recap by saying blockouts suck, but it's not anything personal. It's just they're trying to make sure that the guests are happy, and your job as a cast member is you work while others play. It's just how it is.
All right. Well, very very interesting arguments from both sides here, and I believe that's going to do it for this week's news from the Peak. And yeah, if you guys, I forgot to announce, you guys, 5753, we just sort of just rolled right into everything. 575-386-5814 is the number if you guys would like to call in, leave a voicemail, send a text possibly, but we do prefer to hear voicemails. Don't
even give the option.
I should just not even said that. You guys didn't hear that Jedi mind
It's more
trick.
Interesting.
Voicemail only. It is.
Ask us questions. Any questions?
That was funny. For a second there, Jeremy's voice sounded like the voice of God. Like, no, don't even leave any option.
I can't help that I just have a natural commanding presence.
Yes, you do.
That's very true. I want to scroll up in chat here just for a second.
Unanimous agreement. Okay.
Tony Mack asked if I had used my annual pass yet. I've not. I'm trying to go back next month for my birthday. We'll see how it goes. My birthday is the 23rd.
When?
The 23rd.
Okay, never mind. I know. Miss each other. It's crazy.
Matt kept telling me in the first month he had the pass. He's like, "Oh, I'll be coming in a week or two or whatever. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna have fun." And all this time, he doesn't even have plans to be here except for his birthday, which he's probably gonna spend with I don't know whoever matters more to him than us.
Mickey Mouse. I'll be spending my entire time with him.
No, you probably won't even tell me that you're here. You just
I keep telling you time and time again, Mickey does not want you there.
Oh God, I'm sorry, Mickey. He can't keep me away. He keeps trying to ban me. I don't know where this bit is going, but anyways, yeah, I've not used it yet. I mean, I used it when I bought it, but I haven't used it since. So I'm trying to go back towards the end of April next month for my birthday, the 23rd, 24th, and then the 2 weekends after that, maybe. If not, then sometime during the summer.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What if the coronavirus is going full force then? Are you still going to come?
I mean, flights will be cheaper. What can I say?
Literally, the funny thing is, last night I was on the phone with one of my best friends here, and we've always for years now been being like, let's do it. We had to do a Disney World trip together, and last night we were like, let's just look at because plane prices have been dropping because of coronavirus. So let's just look at the prices. There were some incredible prices, and we were this close to just literally buying tickets, buying passes, booking a hotel on the spot, but I can't do that.
Yeah,
the prices were low.
I mean, yeah, if for some reason something like that, I'll still probably, if the prices are cheaper, but I'm really bad at managing my money, so I need to.
Me too.
I feel it's just I'm
the worst.
So
Matt's really bad at it.
Yeah. So I feel like I need to do some saving, but
I mean, one time I told Matt I needed $5,000 for a candy bar, and he just gave it to me. He was like,
it was a
man,
good candy bar, though.
Expensive. I didn't even bring him one. I don't know what he ate.
I need $5,000.
So do I, please. Guys, donate to the stream. Just kidding. No, I feel like I'd rather drive than fly. I like long drives, and as much as I love airplanes and airports, which is kind of weird to say, I love flying, but I prefer to drive, I think. But yeah, 23rd, that weekend is the dates that I'm looking at. Hopefully, if I can manage to manage my money better, I will be there for those few days. But if not, then sometime in the summer, guaranteed. But yeah, so that came out of nowhere. But that does it for news from the peak. I guess we've already ended that segment. Yeah, it's time.
Yeah,
for
we
yeah, it ended a long time ago.
What have we been doing the past 5 minutes?
No, I have no idea.
I don't even have the memory. I don't have memory of the last 5 minutes.
Me neither.
Well, we do have main topics to get into, you guys. First main topic, new Spaceship Earth refurb details were announced this past, I believe, the week before last week. They sort of got overshadowed by
3 weeks ago now. It got overshadowed by Bob Iger leaving
Mr.
the
Bobby
company.
Iger, yeah. And for our second bit, our second topic here, we're going to do a little review of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, because that ride did debut this past Wednesday. I believe it was Wednesday. And finally, you guys know us. We like to have our long 3-hour conversations, so this is going to be one of those, hopefully. Why do we spend money at Disneyland is the title that we came up for this segment. We hope you guys enjoy that one. I know we will, probably. But for our first topic here today, everybody, new Spaceship Earth details were revealed. And as many of you guys well know by now, the icon of Epcot, you guys, Spaceship Earth, will be getting an extended refurb ahead of the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World. It could be pushed beyond that. I'm not 100% sure on the dates, but the refurb will begin on May 26th of this year. And I'm going to quote here from the Disney Parks blog of their recent update that they posted, quote, "As we shared at last year's D23 Expo, the next iteration of Spaceship Earth will focus on the story of humanity following our long journey from prehistoric humans to today, brought to life within magic and depth that only Disney can deliver. Many of the moments you know and love will be updated in amazing ways, blended with brand new scenes to tell a story about our human experience," unquote. Now, I believe we had a sort of already a discussion on this when that D23 Expo happened and when they first announced. I think that was when they announced like they were adding like a Moana scene or something to Spaceship Earth, and everybody was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, that was all assumption based on a very vague looking concept art. I don't think Moana is actually being added to.
Yeah, well, I guess like a Moana inspired
what you know
scene, but it did look very Moana-esque. Is what
Am I in denial?
might be. Jeremy might be in denial.
Little do you know, the whole theme of this new refurbishment is going to be Moana and her trip through society and how it advances its technology, and then she eventually the finale of the ride is Moana launches off into space and strikes Maui, and he explodes, and that creates a new universe.
Why didn't they do that instead of the Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster, you guys? That would be 1,000,000,000 times more epic. But yeah, as you guys can see from this I'm going to be very sarcastic here, you guys. I feel like I'm really bad at like conveying my sarcasm. This very beautiful piece of concept art we have here, you guys. So let's go ahead and start with Mr. Jeremy here. I believe even Jeremy had a big beef with this piece of concept art on Twitter a few days ago. So Jeremy, what are your thoughts on these brand new details announced for the Spaceship Earth revamp happening?
Okay, Matt, I want you to do something for me. I want you to go read go down and read more of that article out loud.
Okay.
The first part sounds wonderful. They're just describing what Spaceship Earth has always been. Now I would like for you to read the specific they get about what about humanity this ride is going to be weirdly about. I would like you to read about how they explain this Egypt scene, for example.
All right.
And, do it, Matt. And then we'll go on from there. I'll go on.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
I believe I do. I'm just going to read the entire, but so
here we go.
Disney Parks blog.
Get ready for Matt's reading skills.
The butcher strikes again.
Butcher.
I think you know where to start.
I think I do, yes. So, quote, today we're excited to share a few additional details of what you can expect when this icon returns. You'll visit Egypt, which is part of the current version of the attraction, but it will be an Egypt like you've never seen before, transformed through the power of light. And I'll do one more sentence as well. Throughout the attraction, you'll hear new narration and see how light plays a central role in our shared human journey, coming to life in a dynamic ways in a celebration of how the magic that's possible when we all come together. Guys, light is very magical.
Okay. What does that even mean?
That is a good question.
What does that mean?
And see how
this
light plays a central role.
How light is about. Like, is it going to be sponsored by, like, is General Electric finally sponsoring a new another attraction? Yeah, Philips. Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't quite understand that angle.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds very contrived to me. I think it's light in relation to magic, in relation to storytelling, in relation to the magic of possibility. I'm very concerned about that because I have no idea what that means. And you can kind of see that in the,
It sounds to me like literal light, like. But
even that is confusing.
Why is it confusing? Do you know?
Do you legitimately think it's going to be a serious attraction about electricity and like light and fire? And is that what you think it's going to be?
Yes.
So it's like see, I don't think it is.
Maybe you just don't have the magic in you, Jeremy.
Oh my.
If it is, it's weird because we already have. It just seems weird, and I don't know why they would be. If an outside company was sponsoring, like General Electric, then I would understand that angle.
Are you saying that it's hard for you to believe that they would want to do something educational again?
I don't think. Yes. Yes, actually.
Straight to the point.
Well, yes and no, because yes, it's hard for me to believe that they would do something as specific as light if they didn't have a company sponsoring it that's specialized in electricity. That's my saying. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Because it's a ride. The format of the ride is designed for communication, and even when Siemens took over and it was not a communications company, it still worked. It was about innovation and it still worked. Specifically light, and maybe it's just the phrasing, how light plays a central role in magic and bringing us together. I don't know. That sounds the most contrived concept ever. Anyway, I want to talk about respond. Now.
Okay. I was gonna say, but what if it's something like interesting? Like, think about it. What do people like about light today? Light shows.
Bright.
They love light. They love light to be in their faces. And they love it so much they put the phones right in front of their faces like this and text each other.
I still think it's such a far stretch for an attraction to be that's the central idea of humanity. I just don't. Because the wording doesn't suggest that to me.
Well, think about it. One of man's first inventions was, the ability to control fire, the ability to create fire. That wasn't just about heating. It was also about light. It was about bringing light to the darkness. And what if Spaceship Earth is going to be a new message about the darkness within us that we can overcome with the light that we see in front of us?
That's really exactly what I think it is going to be, and I think it's too broad and it doesn't make any sense, and it's too contrived. Something it's not grounded in history. It's I just don't,
I guess
I
it's
don't
worth
know.
it's
I
worth
don't-
noting that
sir.
it's worth noting that the previous iterations of Spaceship Earth have been following like the history of communication, the evolution of communication throughout the centuries.
Right, and because they were sponsored by AT&T
Yeah.
and Bell System, but as I said just a few minutes ago, when it was sponsored by Siemens, it became more about innovation, man creating to better society, which worked. Well, not I'm going to say marvelously because the last half of the attraction, that version fell short.
Mm-hmm.
But I think right now just saying light and magic and bringing us together is too vague of a central idea for an attraction that is definitely about the broad existential question of why are we here. And in fact, in the original Ray Bradbury script, I think the first lines
Isn't about.
Yeah, no, the first lines in the Ray Bradbury's original script, the original version, I think are literally like, "Why are we here? Where are we going?"
Yeah.
It starts with those fundamental questions. What is civilization? And then the rest of the park explores, expands out and explores the different aspects of that. But it starts in Spaceship Earth. What is civilization?
That's a good question.
It's not light.
Are you doing this?
It
on
was
purpose?
central. Light was central to Egypt. No, I mean, light is central, but it's like there's so many. I don't know. It's just a weird thing
It's
to
not
connect in
weird.
the history of. So I think it's weird. I think it's weird.
Here's
read
why,
that.
No, you had your moment. Okay, here's why it's not weird. Think about all the advancements that we've been able to do by just having light at nighttime to be able to allow us to do these things. It allows us to be able to advance things longer throughout the day. All the things that we've done by being able to illuminate the night, and then the advancements of our technologies using light. I mean, think about it. If you want to tie this into the stupid AT&T thing, then you can say, oh, well, what do we do with communications and light today? Oh, we use fiber optics. Fiber optics use light. And the different kinds of light that we use today to do the different things we need to do. Light isn't just about, a flashlight. It's also about how we communicate, how we design new mechanisms and technology advancements. Light is much more than just a light bulb that you turn on when you need to go pee in the pee in the bathroom, 3
pee
times
in the
a night.
Toilet, specifically, Alex.
No one pees in the toilet anymore. So it's
I do.
So
pee in the sink. Peeing in the sink statistically saves more water.
Yes, it
Did you guys
does.
know that? Fun fact.
All right.
Anyways,
anyway,
the topic's not about pee, you guys.
So anyway, the point is that there's a lot to technology that we can tell through the story of light. And the fact that you're making
I don't
this
think
point
there is
that it should stay this communications thing.
Not at all. I did not make that point.
Okay, what is your point?
My point is that I think I think light is definitely a factor of things in terms of civilization, but it's like a weird. I don't know. I think. Well, here's the thing. I do think that communication is a better topic, to explore the times today, and
they've been discussing
it's very
communication
clear, Alex,
since 1982.
That's fine, and communication is still in a booming place, and there's more to talk about. But I don't think the attraction necessarily has to be about communication specifically. I think we can agree that it should be about civilization as a whole. But I don't know. It's just, and I think it's very clear that, and the announcement going back to D23, that it is this is why it's confusing to me. I don't think it is going to be an educational thing about light and how civilizations used light. I think they might talk about that, but the final aim, the conclusion is, we know this, going to be about the branding words that they're using, the magic of possibility, and storytelling. How storytelling in relation to how Disney is good at storytelling, and it's not going to be the kind of Spaceship Earth that we like. If it was sponsored by, General Electric, I'd be like, okay, it makes sense. It's going to focus on light and how we've used light as a tool. But I don't think this is the case for this iteration of the attraction. I think it will be mentioned, but I don't think that's going to be the final, message, central idea of the attraction. And I'm getting that from the language of the statement back in D23 and the statement in this release. Light in relation to magic and possibility. I don't know. It doesn't seem like a genuine showing demonstration of passing down of history to me.
No.
Okay, that's fine. Well, that's fine. But anyway, I mainly wanted to talk about how concept art, this is so minor compared to the conversation we just had. I just, basically I just missed how concept art, especially look at the Herb Ryman concept art, there's a level of artistic liberty and poetry that's instilled to it, where it doesn't just demonstrate how something is literally going to look. It's like a great work of art. You understand the ideas. It evokes the feeling of either the land that's being painted or the attraction, the scene that's being painted. So I just think that's lost in a lot of concept art that I've been seeing the past few years. That's why I didn't love that concept art. I didn't think it actually conveyed any ideas about how light is going to be, we see literally how those things are going to be glowing. But what does that mean? I don't know. I know that scene is going to look exactly like that, but I have no idea what it means. And I think concept art, good concept art, you get it.
Okay. Well, Mr. Alex, anything to add to that?
I feel that Jeremy's opinion is a bit myopic.
That's a big word that I do not know the definition of. So you guys just continue on. Whatever.
Would you like to expand on that? This is so funny. Last week we had comments that were like, I think Alex and Jeremy hate each other, which we don't. But this is definitely the most heated debate that we've had on this show.
I just feel like, sometimes you can't take the concept art or even what they say way too literally. Sometimes the people that,
I know what it means.
Anyway.
Well, my point is that it's a very minor thing, but I miss when concept art was like oil on canvas painting, and you could hang it in your house, and it could be like, oh yes, that's a Ryman. It's a beautiful painting, isn't it? As opposed to this it's very clearly only one. Its only purpose is to demonstrate how the scene is going to look for design purposes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you look at Ryman concept art and you're like, wow, put that in the MoMA. That is a amazing 20th century painting.
I agree with you on that. I mean, I agree on that, but that's a completely different topic than what we're talking about.
No, it's not. No, Matt. I want to start off that Matt initially was asking me about what I had opinions about the concept art. So I wanted to talk about the attraction first, and then I circled back around and talked about concept art.
Okay. Yeah, I just, I don't know. I don't know how else to say it. I just feel that, you know, there's a whole lot of things you can say about the world and how we've done things through light, you know, going back through history all the way to, you know, the Egyptians and how they used light to advance their society, all the way through to now, how we use light today for completely different means other than illuminating things. And so I just think that there's a whole lot of story to tell. And yeah, you could say, oh, well, Disney says it's about magic. Well, Disney says everything's about magic. You can't take that so literally. You know, you have to just kind of read between the lines and go, okay, well, you know, they're going to say magic in every single sentence. So you just have to just ignore that word and then just kind of go, okay, well, what are they trying to really say here? And that's what I think is what they're trying to say is that they're going to try to preserve the idea of Spaceship Earth, which is to take you through time and show you the advancements in something. And I think in this case, it's going to be advancements through light. And I think there's a whole lot of story you can tell there and a whole lot of, you know, smart. Do I think that the new Spaceship Earth is going to be educational the way that it used to be? There's a very little chance of that happening. But I do think that through visual storytelling and through excitement, you can get the idea of the story and advancement using light, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, I just feel that just because it's not about communication doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to be a very well done attraction.
I agree with that. I don't think it has to be about communication. But we'll see. I guess we have to just leave it at a we'll see.
And seeing is the thing
I mean, we'll
that
see
we will be doing.
the final product of the new version. And then we'll probably talk about it then.
Yeah, someone mentioned in the chat earlier that
we'll definitely talk about it. I can guarantee you that.
If you ever live to see the day.
Oh my gosh. Alex
That's
is
true. That is the
threatening.
magic of possibility. You could not wake up in the morning.
Jeremy
That's
is
the
the
magic of
light in
possibility.
Spaceship Earth. This is soul.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, if you guys have any further thoughts on this lovely topic, go ahead and comment down below. But it is now time to move on.
Or leave a voicemail.
Oh yeah, you guys leave a voicemail. And we do have voicemails that we'll get to. It's just, you know, the voicemails that were left don't necessarily pertain to the topics at hand. But we'll get to those voicemails that have already been left. But moving on to our second topic of the day. You guys, it finally happened. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway has now opened in Disney's Hollywood Studios. Yeah, it opened in the corpse of the Great Movie Ride, which I'm sure is something we'll get into the discussion.
It opened in the carcass, inside the carcass of the Great Movie Ride.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something we'll be touching on once we get into this discussion. But I just want to say, full disclosure, this we're going to be doing a review basically of our thoughts of this ride. And full disclosure, before we get into that, this review is based off of just the videos that we've seen. None of us, all three of us, have not yet to experience this ride in person, and our opinions may or may not change once we do wind up experiencing this in person. So yeah, just take that note.
Also, spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, spoilers.
Care about traction spoilers. I know that's a thing now.
Yeah, so yeah,
so we're good. I mean, I know I want to talk about a specific scene in the ride,
Sure.
but it's pretty climactic scene. So if you want to be surprised, if you're planning a trip soon, or if you just want to wait till 2022 to go on it in Disneyland, leave the stream. No, or cover your ears. Or
No. Remain seated, please.
Oh my god, well, that
Ooh,
was
you sounded
really
good doing
yeah.
that.
Holy cow. Well, I guess
practice.
we should
Oh,
all
wait.
go around and do our best Jack Wagner impersonation.
Okay, I'll start. Wait, I'll start first.
Remain
No, I don't think I
seated,
can do it today.
please.
Oh, well, all right.
That was me that said
This
that.
is over. That wasn't you.
Okay, well maybe we can do like our very brief spoiler-free review, and then we can get into like the discussion of like the ride itself
idea.
and the spoilers. So I'll start here. my spoiler-free review of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway in Disney's Hollywood Studios. In a very brief way, I will say this. It's cute, it's weird, and it fits better in Tomorrowland than in Hollywood Studios. And overall, it's a cute attraction. I don't think it's necessarily anything really groundbreaking, at least to me, but that's my very brief review. Alex! Oh my god, his eyes are staring into my soul right now.
You watched the videos of it, right, Alex?
I watched like a million videos of it. Yeah, I wanted to see it from every angle.
Me too. Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah. Well, you want me to just start talking?
Yeah,
okay.
very brief spoiler-free
like the spoiler-free, brief spoiler-free review.
Oh, spoiler-free review. Okay. Well, I thought before I ever saw this ride, I was really afraid of seeing something that was super projection heavy. For years, that's all Disney fans ever talk about is, oh, there's too many projections going in a ride, and projections are not a good thing. They're cheap. They're whatever. That's even my own words. I once called them cheap. And to be honest, you know, compared to an animatronic, they are cheap. But that being said, after seeing all these videos, of this specific attraction, no other, but this specific attraction, I have to say that it being so projection heavy, I feel was done very well. And the theme of the attraction really works with it, because you're face to face with cartoon characters. You're in a cartoon world, and so it's a perfect reason to be surrounded by two-dimensional projections and stuff like that. And so, but without revealing anything, the way that it was done was just fantastic. And I have nitpicks and stuff like that, but I mean, every ride you have something that you want to nitpick at, and so that doesn't make it any worse. I think overall that this attraction is definitely one of Disney's higher quality I would name it like a C or D ticket, honestly. And I think it's worth a ride. I'm actually excited to see it come to Toontown here at Disneyland, because I think it fits perfect in there. I think that it would be something that will make Toontown popular again. I mean, there's times where I go to Disneyland, I don't see Toontown for 6 months at a time. And that's me going every week. So it's like, so if this were here at Disneyland, I'd be going to Toontown a whole lot more.
All right. Jeremy?
Yeah. Well, I absolutely love this attraction. And I think it's just fantastic. Obviously, like Alex, I have some nitpicky things as well, and I'll touch briefly on those spoiler-free ones now. And I agree with Alex. I think this is projections at their ultimate best so far. It is integrated to the theme of the attraction and works for the overall aesthetic. You never feel like you're getting something that you never once think, if only this was a fully realized three-dimensional set, like you do in so many other attractions that are just focused on screens. The only qualm I really have with it is that it uses a version of these classic characters that is a very niche version of these classic characters. Those new Mickey shorts are wonderful. I think they're really interesting. They're a little weird.
Yeah,
the characters don't fully feel the characters, and this is an interesting way, but the characters in those new shorts feel like cartoon versions of their cartoon selves. So it's really interesting. Their personalities always seem just slightly off of what their personalities are known for being. So when you're going through this attraction, it's wonderful. It's clever. There's moments where, I mean, you kind of laugh out loud. It makes you laugh. It's a perfect, well, I don't want to use the word perfect. That's a bit of hyperbole, but it's a great attraction. within the carcass of the great movie ride, I don't know. I just don't feel like that works entirely well. But watching it over and over again and pretending that this was a ride at Disneyland, which is going to be happening, I got so excited because I actually think it's going to be marvelous, a perfect fit for Disneyland, a perfect fit for Toontown. It's going to be a great new addition to the park that works into the park, doesn't feel contrived and shoehorned. Anyway, back to the characters. My point is that you're aware that what you're looking at is Mickey Mouse, but I don't know if this version of Mickey Mouse carries the universality that looking at a drawing of Mickey often brings. It's a logical awareness that this is Mickey, but there's something just slightly off about the way he speaks, the way he looks, the way he behaves, that it doesn't pack the emotional punch of seeing even just a drawing of 3 circles. So that's my only qualm. It's a minor one, though. It's a wonderful attraction. I can't wait to ride it. It looks marvelous, and I can't wait to talk about the details.
Yeah, speaking of which, I really don't like the new Mickey cartoons. I really don't.
The only thing I like about them is the background art.
Sure.
They're really well done in those cartoons.
Yeah.
But the character design, I find, and even just the way the characters behave are just slightly off. Don't you find?
Well,
yeah.
You know what it is? It's like all of them just like had way too much sugar. And
exactly.
Like
Mickey's Charlie Chaplin. He isn't manic. He's witty. He's a cartoon version of Charlie Chaplin. He's a clown, but he's a smart clown, and he's not he's not like everyone. I was often saying, like, when the cartoons first started coming out, that it was almost like Mickey was imitating SpongeBob. It just wasn't right.
It wasn't
That's
Mickey.
That's a good example.
And when you think about Mickey is supposed to be the cartoon version of Walt Disney. That's who he is. And Walt would never act that way or do those things. And that's, and you could try to make the argument that, they're trying to reinvent Mickey, make him likable to today's kids, but you don't have to do that
you don't have to do that, period.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't have to do that at all because Mickey's
never been irrelevant.
Yeah. The only reason
and never will be.
Yeah. The only reason why he has, had become less popular in the recent decades was simply because they weren't making cartoons of him until recently. Right. But it's like, it just, so the Mickey and Minnie characters in this cartoon really bother me. I'm not so much bothered by Goofy, Donald, or Pluto. I feel like they're still mostly the same characters, but Mickey and Minnie are not the same characters in these cartoons. I don't like them. They're not the same.
I find that the new cartoons are very they're very witty, they're very clever, they're very cleverly done, cleverly crafted for cartoon shorts. But again, it's something about the character design that I just find is slightly off, doesn't carry the universality of who these characters are. So I agree with you, Alex, on that.
All right.
And that's the thing, because it's like everyone's talking about how this is sorry, Matt. This is an attraction. It's an attraction about Mickey. Mickey's finally getting an attraction. But if it's the only thing I find off about is that it's a very specific version of Mickey that isn't the one the whole world, loves and knows. So, but it's still a wonderful attraction.
Matt, what do you think?
I already said my thoughts.
You did?
I did, yeah. I went first.
Oh, I never pay attention. All right.
All right. Well, that does it for the spoiler-free section of this, I guess, review of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So if you guys would like to go ahead and skip to the end of this segment, you can do so by clicking the timestamp in the description down below to go ahead and move on to our next topic. But it's spoiler time, you guys, and I'm going to be, since this is spoiler time, I'm going to be playing a ride-through from Mr. LMG Vids here. So we're going to have this playing in the background while we discuss the attraction. So spoiler time, you guys. Moving on, spoilers. Anybody who wants to start this?
Why?
I guess are we just doing like live commentary of what's playing on the?
I mean,
the screen right now.
If you want to, if that's what you guys want to do, we can.
Well, here's spoiler number 1. This is so clever.
Right yeah, here. the effect of the screen opening up.
I love that.
It's kind of clever.
Kind of
clever.
Let me say
explain. Yeah.
Yeah, let me say why. Because on video I was like, "Oh, wow, this is amazing. I didn't even appear," like I was so miffed by it, right? But then I was watching Chris's review of it on his other channel, Chris with a K. He actually did a review of what he saw. Now, here's what's funny. Chris didn't actually see this ride yet. So he was reviewing the video, and on the video, before he even played that cartoon, he was going like, "Oh, wait, there's something wrong with the screen. There's like a hole in the screen." And I'm thinking, wait, he hasn't seen this ride yet. He hasn't been there yet. How does he know that? And he hadn't even seen the video yet. So even on video, he saw the hole at the bottom of the screen. Sure. And then when he actually played the video and then the effect went up, and then you could see in the scene that the screen had opened up and you can walk through it. Then he was like, "Oh, wait, it's supposed to be like that." So that's the thing. I'm like, wait, if Chris could see that on video, it must be much more visible in person, because a video, it's such a poor quality way of seeing something in the darkness, So yeah, that worries me, is that people can see that hole in real life. Sorry.
Interesting. Well, I mean, all right. Well, I don't know how to continue on this, so I guess we can just do a play-by-play then. I'll skip through the queue waiting time.
I mean, you're playing the video, so it's gonna make me. Yeah, there's really only one moment. Oh, a couple moments I wanted to talk about, but this will make me talk about everything, so that's good.
We only have 3 moments available. Is that okay?
What is fun? Play the game watching this video, or if you're going on the ride, play the game of Where Am I in the Great Movie Ride. It does actually follow most of the same track layout.
Interesting.
Wait, what's the Great Movie Ride?
I'm not going to explain that to you.
Well, I'll skip ahead here so we can. It's just like waiting. All right. So this is this was included in the brief clip that we talked about last week, this very first beginning clip, right at the beginning of the ride, as well as the clip after. And this beginning part, I feel like mixes a lot of practical elements very well with the projections, with the fountains and the fences, as well as, well, I guess all of this is practical stuff. But I'd like to talk about the Mickey and Minnie animatronics here, because keep in mind, I'm going to pause it. Keep in mind, as we discussed earlier, we're entering a cartoon, entering a 2D world. And how do you go about making a 2-dimensional animatronic like Mickey Mouse with projection faces? How do you make that look decent while combining all these, 3D practical sets around you? So it's very weird to see Mickey and Minnie's heads, because their heads are like they're looking to the side in like a cartoon, but it's like it's I don't know, it's just very weird to me to see. But yeah, do you guys have any thoughts on that? Because it is, at least for me, it's very weird.
It's definitely strange. It doesn't look right. But I will say this. Look at the way Mickey and Minnie move. They have that weird cartoonish bounce and squish, which is kind of funny, because in Chris's review of the video, he was saying they don't have a bounce and squish. I'm like, no, they do. Look at that. Like their body looks like it's made of rubber, and they did that in 3D. So I'm like, that's crazy.
It's pretty great. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
So, but anyway, aside from that, yes, I think it is really weird, because their 3-dimensional shaped faces are permanently in a 2-dimensional appearance.
That's a good, it's a good way of putting it.
It looks really weird.
Well, here's the thing. I think they stage it well, because I remember what you talked about either last week or the week before, where you talked about we'll see what it's like. Actually, it was last week because I posed that philosophical question about what is an audio animatronic. You were concerned that they're supposed to be 2D on a 3D thing. I think they've staged these scenes where those animatronics are here, both there and at the end, and a couple other scenes. I think, because of where you're looking at them, they look great.
Well, I guess for me it's also very strange because it's also, I guess, juxtaposed with the goofy, like the two-dimensional goofy projection or the screen or whatever there. So it's kind of weird seeing that, like true 2D and then like the fake almost 2D effect that they tried to go for making the animatronics.
I feel you. There definitely is a difference when you're looking at the characters on a screen and then when you're looking at them in animatronic form. That is true. They look the best that they can. I'll amend.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Disney Center says, they look great, but not great on video.
I guess we'll see.
I'm surprised how well the projections have been captured on video. Like, I'm like, these look great.
It's okay. So I know what he's trying to say, but the thing is that I think the things that make me feel that it doesn't look great I don't believe that they're going to look great in real life. I think the things that I think do look great will look great in real life. It's hard for me to explain, but I kind of, after seeing thousands of ride-through videos and going on these rides, Disney rides, thousands of times, I know what things look great and don't look great in real life based off of video, because we've pretty much already seen these kinds of things before in some way, shape, or form. So it's kind of like I know, for instance, that tornado with Mickey and Minnie on it is going to look terrible. Like, it's just like, it doesn't look right, and so it's just like,
sure.
So there's things that I know aren't going to look good, and as awful as this might sound, I've never been wrong to myself about that. So when I see something on video and I go, that's not going to look good, and then when I go write it, I end up going, yep, I was right about that. So, granted, what looks good to somebody else might not look good to me and vice versa. So I understand that. But for my enjoyment of it, I know that what I'm going to see isn't going to look good when I don't think it's going to look good on video. I know that's kind of like confusing. But I think you know what I mean. But
sure.
So, but I thought what's really cool is like the Old West scene where that we already passed that they kind of like went into. That was really cool.
I guess for me, I guess when this ride was first announced, it was posed to have this like 2.5D. That's like the specific wording that they used. Not full 3D, so you need 3D glasses, but the word that they used was 2.5D with these projections. And it's very interesting to me to see how they've implemented that, because it looks like to me a lot of the scenes are just normal set scenes painted with black special paint to look good in the black light, and then the projections are just added on afterwards. Because if I don't know, it's hard to tell on the video again, but all of this just looks like just painted set pieces. It's just these projections up here are the only things added afterwards, as well as all these types of things, except the backgrounds and stuff like that.
Well, but to be totally fair, the actual like 2.5D doesn't come in till the finale of the ride.
Okay.
The rest is just really good projection mapping. But yeah, the 2.5D is saved for the finale, because that's kind of hard to achieve on every single scene of a ride.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I'd like to talk about this sort of transition here. So it goes, I guess it's like a jungle or whatever. The set piece here is designed to look like, I guess, like the jungle on the island, and then the volcano explodes, and then we cut to Mickey and Minnie running off the edge of the waterfall, and then They go underwater, and then they transition back to the same set pieces, but it's lighted differently, so it looks like it's underwater. I felt like that was kind of, and the projections are different. I felt that was kind of neat to do that. Same set, reused as something else. And yeah, so here is Mr. Jackhammer. Is that what that is? I don't know. Disney Center said waterfall scene feels weak. Feels pretty month to me. Weak month. That's a good one, I guess. Well,
no, not really. But okay, so I want to remind everybody that the ride isn't meant to make you feel like the characters are in a 3-dimensional world. It's designed to make you feel like you're in a 2-dimensional world. So, so when people say like, oh, that, the special effects aren't very 3-dimensional, it's like, it's not supposed to be. You're supposed to be in the cartoon, not the other way around. So, but yeah, so the scene where they're in the city and you see like, Pete jackhammering and stuff, I thought that looked really cool. And I think in real life it'll look pretty funny. And it's funny because not everybody understands that scene. They go like, oh, it doesn't even look like Pete is moving because he's on a jackhammer. It's like, well, no, he's not supposed to move. The joke is that the joke is that everything else is
exactly
moving.
It's a gag.
But, yeah. But I've heard that from people. It's like, oh, it doesn't look like he's moving. It's like he's not supposed to. But unless Jeremy had anything he wanted to say, I wanted to talk about this scene with Daisy.
Yeah, I think the city scene is great. I would love to talk about the Daisy scene as well.
Yeah.
So I have a different opinion than a lot of different people about the Daisy scene. A lot of people are like, oh, the Daisy scene doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit with the ride. And my opinion is exactly the opposite. It fits in the ride perfectly because you end up being washed through a sewer drain and then washed out into the streets of the city, and you're trying to avoid traffic, and you end up going into Daisy's studio, and you're right smack dab in the middle of one of her, her dance lessons. It's like, it fits. It's not like it doesn't belong there,
Yeah.
So, but so I don't know. A lot of people, I don't know what it is. Maybe they're like, oh, well, it's such a big empty open space. It's like, well, have you ever been to a dance studio? It's a big empty open space. It's like there's no objects in a dance studio except for maybe a few chairs, but that's about it. Yeah, I like the dance studio scene. I think it's pretty funny and it works.
Yeah. I really, really like the dance studio scene. I think it has one of the greatest gags in any funny attraction, which is that are all waltzing together. And I just think it's one of those really unique moments in an attraction where you can all look around and kind of laugh with each other, these strangers that are just on this attraction, because it's a very funny punchline to that scene. You don't expect your vehicle to do that. And I just think it's hilarious, and I can't wait to experience that in person.
Yeah, and there's other people here in the comments who agree with each other on that it breaks the flow of the ride. I agree, but that's the thing about rides is, sometimes you need to break the flow. Like a lot of people nowadays. A lot of people nowadays are so used to their movies and media just having a continuous flow. But in the old days, people used to make movies and rides in such a way that they had a break of flow to allow you to absorb what you've just seen and then take a moment to have a breather so you can be wowed by the next scene. I mean, granted, remember that the next scene after the dance studio is the finale with the
factory and
2.5. Yeah. So you need to take a moment to take a breather. So that way, I mean, and think about what the dance scene does. It gives you very little special effects. So that way, when you reach that last scene and you get wowed with all the special effects at once, it becomes even more grand. It's meant to be that way. It's meant to break the flow.
Yeah, exactly. I precisely agree with you, Alex. I think it's perfect. It's a way of building anticipation. And I mean, think about it. It's action, 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 action. And then you need a moment to be suspended, a little bit. and then you move on to the finale. If you went straight, think about it, if you get washed down the sewer, go through the city, it's action, and then go straight to the factory, I don't think the factory would have the same level of impact that it does. And the fact is a fantastic scene.
Yeah, the thing is, Imagineers understand that you're not supposed to bombard people with nothing but action through a whole thing, because that makes it so if you just had a continuous flow of constant, fast action through the whole ride, you would end up leaving the finale scene less impressed. You'd be like, oh, that wasn't very climatic. But when you have this pause right before it, it feels more climatic. The same thing goes for the Indiana Jones adventure. When you go on the Indiana Jones adventure, you go through this perilous journey, but then right near the end, you end up breaking down in the bat room. And people go, oh, this doesn't make sense. There's nothing to look at in the room. Well, yes, it's because you're supposed to be taking that breather. You're supposed to be like, okay, this, all this stuff happened. I'm absorbing that. And then you kind of calm down, and then they get you all excited again by taking you through the dart room. And it's like, it's like, it's designed to give you that false sense of security, And the other thing too is having these pauses in rides. Well, in the olden days, was designed so it would allow your imagination to run wild with what's going to happen next. When you have nothing but stimuli in front of you, like all these scenes, your brain doesn't have time to think for itself. So when you give when you give your brain a moment to pause and have a lot less stimuli, then you'll kind of go like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen next. What's, in the Indiana Jones adventure, you can't help but go like, oh, what's, is there going to be like this big collapse, or what's going to happen? So it's, those kind of things are really great. So I think people should remember that it shouldn't always be 100% through the entire ride.
Right. So I agree. Another great example are I mean, I guess in in general that have multiple lift hills, but like Thunder Mountain, it's like, it's like a 3-act experience. You have act 1. Well, you have like the prologue, you go through, that the cave, and you go up that first lift. The lift hills are a way of suspending and building anticipation before then you have the experience filled with action. And then you go up the next lift hill. It's a way to anticipate. So I think it works wonderfully.
Yeah. You watch the movie Jurassic Park, the original from 1993. There's a reason why after every action sequence, there's a very slow sequence. It's to allow you to have that feeling of exhilaration, just like, whoa, I just went through something. And then, and then you build up the anticipation for what's the next action scene, what's the dinosaurs going to do next. They don't do that with Jurassic World. It's just 100% the whole time, and yeah, people like it, but then they don't understand. They're like, well, there was something off about the movie. It didn't have that same feel, and it's like, yeah, there's a reason for that.
Yeah. Now let's talk about that factory.
Yeah, I'd love to finally touch on this this finale scene here, because I'd like to preface this. I'm sure this looks amazing in person. It's very hard to capture this. I'm sure it's very hard to capture this entire scene on video and have it be conveyed as if you were actually there in person. So again, we're just going off of the videos that we've seen. But yeah, moving into this, you leave the dance studio, head into this factory with the Smasher. Yes. Yeah,
unfortunately, Chris is sitting in the car that's going to go first, so you don't really see the full transformation. But Alex, what were you asking? Sorry.
Could Matt, could you rewind just a little bit back to the main doors of the factory? I thought I saw something.
The main doors of the factory.
Yes. So you exit the studio and then you go out into the factory. But if you pause just before you enter the main doors, on the left of the main doorway, I believe is a cutout of Mortimer the Rat.
If you pass it already?
You already went in. Yeah, you passed it. You have to go back a little bit.
Oh, is it this right here? That in the corner. I
Where?
can't quite make out.
I can't tell because there's a lag, or not a lag, but there's
No, if you go on Discord, I'm sharing the screen to you guys, so you should see it in real time.
Okay, well then point out where you're looking.
I'm watching on Discord.
Is it this little poster here, or whatever that is?
I can't even see what you're
No,
pointing
that looks like a lamp. Actually, I could be wrong about that.
No, it's literally on the left of the main door.
On the left of the main.
So pause, and then it's on the left there. There's like a trash can, but above the trash can is an electrical box, and it looks like in the electrical box there's a cutout of Mortimer the Rat. You see that?
I have to look up video. I'm not going to be able to see it here.
Jeremy, if you go to the live stream right now, he has it on your screen there.
I'll look at it after.
Or he had until he moved.
I don't want to click out on my setup that I have here.
Okay, well, anyways, we'll just continue on here. So the end factory.
Anyway,
scene.
yes.
Yeah, here with the smash. This is real. Okay, we'll just, I'm sure you guys have seen the ride-throughs, but this is where the factory transforms into, I guess, like the park or whatever, the Plaza Park.
The park. Thing. It is absolutely a great moment in a Disney attraction. I mean, that's just wonderful finale. I mean, it's like, and here is the grand finale. And you feel it. It's so like, the first time I saw it, I was like, wait, did that just happen?
Now, I want you to notice when the vehicles are in the factory, they shift ever so slightly forward, and then they stop, and then they shift forward, and then they stop, and then they shift forward, and then they stop. If you look at that, the reason why the vehicles are doing that isn't just to make sure the vehicle fits inside the room, but also because every time the vehicles shift forward a little bit like that, the perspective of the animation changes to give you more of that 3D feel. That's something that you didn't get in the other rooms. And the reason why was because in the other rooms, the vehicles were constantly in motion, and there was no way to establish what perspective each vehicle was seeing at one time. So when the vehicles are in this room and they all come to a stop and then they shift forward at the exact same time, it allows them to shift the perception of the
interesting.
I
thought it was mainly because it's supposed to feel like you're on a conveyor belt going to the crusher.
Probably that too, but it gives them an opportunity to
that's fantastic integration of that then.
Yeah,
it's great.
How did they even do that? How
I put this on par with the finale of Indiana Jones, like moving the room.
Sure.
It's a great finale. I mean, I think the projection mapping is doing most of the work, but there are still physical set transformations that make it make you go,
because like you see here, there's like boxes of gears, but then those like almost like they're like inflatable.
Yeah, they become trees within 2 seconds.
That's so weird.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's really. I can't wait to see that in person.
Yeah, I mean,
pretty great.
What's cool about that too is that how they fold up to become trees, and it's like I'm wondering, are they like actual like fabric screens, or are they hard material? Because it's hard for me to believe that they're fabric, because fabric would eventually wrinkle. But at the same time, the way that they fold up doesn't look like they would be made of
it
something
looks like
hard.
It is fabric. It does look like. Hold on. So the way I would interpret, I honestly have no idea. And your guess is as good as mine. It looks like it's fabric held up by like a few poles in between to like spread it tight enough so that the projection can be projected onto it. But then, so it's pulled up tight here. I'm mainly focused on this right side here. So it's pulled up and then it folds into itself, I guess. And then I guess a lot of the black lighting does the work, because it looks like there's already almost some like paint to look like the trees on the fabric itself, and then the projection is projected over it. I honestly have no idea. I have no idea. That's just how I would interpret it.
I don't think that there's paint on those, because we all know what it looks like when Disney tries to put projection on something that's already painted. You can see it, underneath the projection. So it's like, I think that's just how solid the projection is. You know, it's amazing. That's another thing I wanted to. That's another thing I wanted to bring up about this ride is a lot of people were saying, "Oh, well, some of these sets are painted," but I'm like, wait, I don't believe that because certain sets that are designed to have different projections on them, they can't be painted. Like for instance, when you're in the sewer pipe and you're being washed out onto the street, that sewer pipe looks like the walls are painted, but because there's a water projection on it, I don't believe they are. Because then you would easily be able to see the painted wall behind the projection itself. So it's kind of interesting. There's certain things that look like they're painted, but I don't think they are.
No, I see what you mean. Yeah. I see. Well, either way, back to the finale scene here. Yeah, someone said Tony Mac said it's a trip. I feel like this would be a really neat ride to ride if you're like tripping on shrooms or like LSD or some. I don't condone the use of drugs on the Matterhorn Mondays podcast, but you guys,
Matt, that was something to only bring up for Matterhorn Mondays After Dark.
Oh my gosh. Almost got it, but just putting that out there, you guys. If you're, no, I don't condone the use of that kind of stuff, but
sure he doesn't. Matt, don't you own a nightclub?
A nightclub? I don't own a nightclub. No,
yeah,
it's a music venue, not a nightclub per se.
They don't have anything like LSD or whatever else.
No. I don't think they would sell LSD at nightclubs either way.
And it's located on a very lonely street where there probably isn't much cop activity, is there? Huh?
I've been got.
All right. So the finale, then you go and they sing that wonderful song, and you're back at the station, and it's wonderful. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Actually, can we talk about the music?
Sure.
I'd like to say a word about the music.
Okay.
I have like weird feelings about it. I love it. I think it's a great song. I think they did a wonderful job at weaving it through with different arrangements, a la the Great Buddy Baker. It's not as good. The funny thing is that I was thinking, I love this attraction. You know what would make it even better? A Buddy Baker Exitencio song. That would just put it over the top. But the song I think is very good. I don't quite know why they're saying nothing can stop us now. I don't understand how that relates to the action of the attraction and why they keep saying it over and over again. But I think it's a wonderful song, and I think the different arrangements and the different scenes, especially when the park, the factory transformation in the park, it sounds like the vocals and the arrangement sounds like it is fitting for a classic Disney attraction. So I think it's very good. I think the music's wonderful. Alex?
I have nothing to say about the music. I honestly, I don't.
All right. Well, I haven't had enough time to listen to the score, so I'm opinionless at this point.
Mad Science, I get that, but it's not like the train is singing it. It's like Mickey keeps saying it over and over again to Minnie, and like they sing it. That's why I'm confused by that. I see how it relates to the train not being able to be stopped, but I don't know why. There's certain points where Mickey will just be like, "Nothing could stop us now," and I'm like, "Why are you saying that? You're trying to save us." Like, But it's a great song. I think it's a wonderful song. All right.
I think there's a picture of Walt on the train right there at the very
end. There
is.
And when I saw that, I go, that's gonna fit so well into Disneyland.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because the picture is of him on the Ernest S. Marsh, which is a locomotive that looks very similar to the one that they chose to use for the ride. So
exactly. And it's the one time where I actually don't feel like that's nostalgia bait. I actually feel like it's like a genuine nod.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a genuine nod. Mm-hmm. You can feel nostalgia bait. It just smacks you.
Yeah, because it's cringy. Nostalgia bait's cringy.
Yeah.
Like the Walt statue at Epcot. That's gonna.
Oh God.
Oh, I forgot about that. I forgot about that. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, anyways, wrapping up our thoughts on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Again, I guess we can just close it. I'll just say the same thing I said before. It's cute. It's a nice ride. It's weird. That's for sure. But yeah, overall, I feel like it's very solid. And yeah, like I said before, I do feel like it would fit better in Toontown rather than Hollywood Studios. But we'll see. Yeah. Jeremy?
I agree. It's wonderful, witty, clever, innovative, fun, exciting, thrilling, relaxing, joyous. But it is a little weird. It's a little bit odd. There's something feels a little bit off about the characters, and it's because of the source material that they're drawing from. It's the specific source material they're drawing from. But objectively, that aside, it's a wonderful attraction. It kind of B- in Hollywood Studios, and I think A+ in Disneyland.
Sure.
Because I think context matters.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. Alex?
It looks pretty cool. And like I said, I have to reiterate that I used to be very much against projection heavy rides. I didn't think there was a way to do it well. And at the moment, this has proven me wrong about that part. I believe that if you were to do a projection heavy ride, it would have to be based on a cartoon just like this. And I think they did a really good job. And honestly, anything that I could complain about with it would just be like little nitpicks. So it wouldn't really be anything against the actual ride itself. And again, I'm really excited to have it in Toontown. It would give me a reason to go there again. I ride, Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin once in a while, but that's not something I usually like to ride all the time. So, but this one, I think it would give me more reason to go there. I want to know, does this seem like a ride that you guys would always want to go on, like Haunted Mansion or Indiana Jones Adventure?
I feel like this does have like the feel of some of those like classic Fantasyland dark rides, where like those are the rides that you have to experience every time you go. So I would say that yes, this is one of those rides where you would have to get on every time you go to the park.
I think that's a hard question, because I kind of do and I don't. I think in the first 5 or 6 or so years of it being around, I will probably go on it every time I go, just because it's still going to feel new and exciting and fun. But ultimately, personally, I'm at the point in my life where I'm like, I go to Disneyland, I'm happy, I'm good. I don't care if I do anything. Everything else is extra. I just have to hit Haunted Mansion and Pirates, and I'm good for the rest of the day. So I mean, it's hard to hold it up to the cream of the crop with those two attractions. But I think if there was time permitting, it might be in every single time one. But I don't know, because you know what? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's one that you fit into your routine,
And again, this is just based on us just watching the videos. This might change once we actually experience the ride.
Yeah. I mean,
right.
I feel just based off of seeing the video, it doesn't at first appear to me like a ride I would all want to go. I feel like, to me, this is a ride that I would probably go on maybe once or twice. Okay, so yeah, this to me feels like what it feels like what Smuggler's Run feels like to me. Smuggler's Run, I wrote it, on three visits in a row. And then after that, I was like, okay, I've had it. I'm done. I don't need to ride this for another year. Like, that's how I felt. And that's, to me, that's what this looks like, is something I'll ride, 3 visits in a row. And then after that, I'm kind of like, all right, I'll see it in a year.
I see. Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
I went on Smuggler's Run once. And the next time I came back, I was like, you know what? Of course, I don't get back to Southern California very often, but I was kind of like, you know what? If we get to it, we get to it. If not, I'm here to be at Disneyland. I'm not here to be at Galaxy's Edge. I actually think that I would be more likely to go on this than I would Smuggler's Run.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's partly because like Smuggler's Run, I mean, like Galaxy's Edge feels like you're leaving the park. You have to leave the park for a little bit
Yeah.
and then come back. Whereas this is like, yeah, it's in if I'll go on it. It's here. I'm in Disneyland, you know. Whereas there's something about Galaxy's Edge that's like, all right, goodbye Disneyland for a little bit. I'm going to Galaxy's Edge. It feels more of like an effort because you have to. It feels like you're leaving the rest of the park experience. Whereas this is going to feel very unified into the Disneyland experience.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to start. But I have a question for you guys now. One last one. I have so much time. I have another question. Do you think that this is Disney's prodigal black box ride?
Oh my God, the black box attraction. Well, for those of you guys that don't know, we should explain what the black box concept is. So basically, the concept from the rumors that we've been hearing is the black box, an attraction that can be very quickly redressed, very projection heavy, that can be redressed into any attraction. Is that a good way of explaining it? It's a ride, a blank canvas of projection mapping, maybe some props in there that can be redressed every few months to be literally whatever the Imagineers want. And I think
this. I don't think this is that. There's so much that has gone into the theming. I know theming is not a verb. Okay, whatever. Into the queue, into the pre-show, into the vehicles, into the scenes themselves. I don't think this is their black box attraction.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I want you to
think
about that again because what is the queue? The queue is it's a screen that moves up. Okay, it's a screen in a themed movie theater. Then you go into the rest of the queue. It's a barn, but look at the barn. It's only painted. It's not actually sculpted. You know, there's no sculpted wood in there. It's only paint. And then the ride vehicles, take the locomotive away and the ride vehicles don't even look like a train. You know, and then, you know, you go into every scene and the most expensive props are probably just the slightly three-dimensional pieces that might have paint on them, but most of them are projected on. You know, to me this feels very much like a black box ride.
It does.
I don't know. I just feel like everything is so carefully, meticulously choreographed. Once you get into the attraction, the way that the scenes are set up, that I think it's very specific for this attraction. And I think the black box, I don't know, but I don't know. If this is the black box attraction, my expectations were blown completely out of the water.
I feel like this is not necessarily the black box attraction that we've been hearing about, but I feel like this is a good concept as to where the black box attractions could go, just because of how heavy this projections are used, how heavy the there's very little actual props besides, the animatronics and like the other painted rock work and stuff that Alex was talking about. I do feel like this is maybe a good, I don't know, like a test maybe for the black box. But I don't think that this is the black box attraction that we've been hearing about.
And I think the black box attraction will be similar to this, but a lighter version.
Sure.
I don't think so. I think this is it. I think this is the black box ride because
and that is very impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, because it is impressive because, a black box ride is designed to be easily changed out. But easy is a word that is not very descriptive. I mean, what is easy? Disney thinks of easy in terms of money. So, this doesn't seem to me like a ride that would take, $10 million to change out. It seems like to me like you can spend maybe $3 million and alter this ride to be anything you want it to be. And that is the concept of a black box ride. I mean, think about it. If this ride had more animatronics and more three-dimensional pieces, this would probably be easily like a $80 to $100 million attraction. But this attraction, it doesn't look like, it looks like it could be changed out for less than 10 million, honestly. And I think that's the point of a black box ride, is that it's an easier conversion. And
I also think though that this is a pretty set in stone attraction. This is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and I think with the black box attractions, it'll be advertised as something that will always be evolving, always be changing. You see it now for a limited time, kind of thing. You know, I think that's going to be part of how they implement the black box, part of the gimmick of having the black box attraction. Whereas this, I think they're trying to establish this as like a new classic, you know, and a classic they don't want to like take away in a year.
Yeah,
you know?
but what if that isn't the reason for the black box? What if the real reason for the black box is if the ride doesn't do well like they think it will, then it can be changed out? I mean, think about it. This whole ride takes place inside of a movie theater. A movie theater can be anything they want it to be. You know, it's like, I feel like this may not be the one that they're saying is going to be constantly evolving, but this is one that, if it fails, could be the one that's constantly evolving. You know? So, no. I think everybody except me is wrong.
I don't know. I think it could be. I certainly think it's a indication of what a black box attraction might feel like. I don't think that this is it, though. I think we would have heard about that.
Yeah, very opposing opinions here. Yeah, I don't think this is but I think this is a good example of what a black box attraction could look like. But that's just, you know, we could be wrong. In a few months,
who knows?
When nobody rides this ride anymore, maybe.
We'll be sitting here and Alex will be going, I said 2 months ago that this wasn't, and it was, and I was right. That's what he's going to say.
No one ever believes me. I hear every day from somebody I know, oh, you're right about this. And I'm like, well, see, why does no one ever believe me?
He is the historian, after all.
I am the historian.
All right. Well, anyways, before we get into our final topic of the day.
It's already been almost 2 hours.
I know.
Like,
do we
have time to do this philosophical conversation?
I feel like we can maybe save the philosophical conversation for another episode, because we did talk very lengthily. We talked at length about Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway already. And I guess we can get to some voicemails, because we do have a few voicemails.
You never went to commercial break.
I was going to after this to get into our next topic, but that's okay.
Got it. Yeah.
We do have 3 voicemails that I'd like to get to here from you guys. So let's go ahead and listen to this first one. This is Casper. I'm reading the transcript, so the name could be wrong, but let's go ahead and listen to this.
Hey, Matt. This is Casper, Pushpin in chat. I had a question. I'm not sure the topic that you were discussing so far, but I just had a question. If we could tear down Tomorrowland and put a Tron coaster there, would you be down with that? And also, it would have to have the people go through it as well. All right, I think that's it. Just wanted to say go Niners.
Oh my God.
And have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
He just had to throw that in there at the end. So we'll save this. The Go Niners, the Bay Area guys. All right. Well, we do have another Tomorrowland related voicemail here, so we'll clump these two together. Let's listen to this voicemail here from Ethan.
Hey guys, this is Ethan. I just wanted to know your opinion on something that's been kind of bugging me for a while. Do you think, like, what should be done about Tomorrowland and Disneyland? Because maybe you think nothing should be done. It's come to a point where I love the old feel, but I almost feel like they should rip down Interventions and put Tron or something in there to make it different, because I feel like we've come to a point in Tomorrowland where they are barely doing anything, just adding, planters? I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of come to a point where it's very frustrating. I want to know your opinion. Do you think that they should tear a lot down? Do you think they should tear Space Mountain down? I don't think they should, but some people are advocating for that. Do you think they should restart? I want to know your opinion, and yeah, thanks. Have a good day.
I feel like us on this show have become I don't know, like experts almost on like this Tomorrowland stuff, just because we get asked so many times about like the future of Tomorrowland.
We talk about it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the question proposed...
I also think yeah. Sorry.
The question proposed... What do we think... Sorry, Jeremy. It's just Alex and I now. Just kidding. But the question proposed, the first one at least, Tron coaster in Disneyland's Tomorrowland. And of course, Ethan just said, what do we think Disney should do with Tomorrowland? So I guess we can briefly touch these or address these. So yeah, we it sounded weird to say. We've
oh God,
we've talked at length, I'm sure, in various episodes in the past about our thoughts on what we think Disney should do with Tomorrowland compared to what we actually think Disney's going to do with Tomorrowland. And I feel like based on clues that we've gotten, not just from like rumors, from the insiders that we have, from actual things, pieces of concept art that they've put out, actual things that they've been installing in Tomorrowland as of recently, I do feel like it's a safe bet to say that they are going back to the 67 retro futuristic look of Tomorrowland, just because that piece of concept art,
at least in aesthetics,
yes, in aesthetics, it's good. It's a safe bet to say that they are going back to that aesthetic of the retro futuristic 1967 70s-ish Tomorrowland, again based off of that piece of concept art from the new entrance of Tomorrowland that we got a few months ago, I feel like, and as well as I think Ethan mentioned the planters that they installed in the entrance of the new Tomorrowland it evokes it's a callback basically to retro Tomorrowland as well. And just judging off of the way that they've been repainting Magic Kingdom's Tomorrowland as well to be more of that white, blue, orange, retro futuristic Tomorrowland, it's a safe bet to say, at least for Disneyland, based on those two things, that they are going back to that 70s-ish Tomorrowland aesthetics feel.
Yeah, and you know what? As much as I love that, because I would love to see what that Tomorrowland look like in person. It is sadly a bit of nostalgia bait.
Yes,
in the sense that very similarly to how with new Epcot, all of their advertising and marketing and signage is all 1982. It's Epcot 1982. The fonts, the poster, all of that. But what's underneath it is not going to be that. And so it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be nice to look at, but more so to answer the question, what do we personally think should be done with Tomorrowland? Did you want to answer that first, Matt? Or?
Sure. I mean, yeah, I feel like personally I would like them to go back to that retro 70s Tomorrowland feel, but I guess it's just really the question of how much money they're willing to spend to actually make it look good, because I'm sure they're not gonna tear down Tomorrowland and rebuild it from the ground up to look exactly like how it was back in the 70s and or late 60s, early 70s, because Innoventions, I'm sure we all know Innoventions is going away. Utopia, I'm sure, is on the chopping block, as well as possibly the submarines. So I don't feel like they're necessarily going to completely tear down Tomorrowland and rebuild it exactly like how it used to be. I do feel like it will have the same aesthetic feel, but with maybe some updated twists that Disney feels like they should put into the land.
Regarding Tron, as great of an attraction, I believe it's an excellent attraction. I don't, even putting it in Magic Kingdom, there's
strange.
Something very weird to me about putting two roller coasters literally right next to each other. And if they were to do that in Disneyland, I don't know if I'd be necessarily for it. I actually do think if they really want Tron in there, you'd have to get rid of Space Mountain, but that's difficult because you're dealing with like not just a classic, but like an extremely popular classic. So it's difficult. I personally am not a fan of carbon copy attractions unless it's like they're for sure like classic material. And I don't know, just like I feel like Tron's going to Magic Kingdom, and I feel like that's going to be our American Tron ride. I wouldn't put it past them to still put it in Disneyland, but there's just something so weird to me about having two roller coasters adjacent to each other. It feels amusement parky, and it just feels like there's then a lack of variety in the land to do. And a thriving Tomorrowland is actually like the most variety that can be offered in the park. Like one e-ticket attraction mixed with different kind of show like experiences that are still immersive and interesting. But we definitely need some kind of people mover back there to add to that variety as well.
Yeah.
Variety and kinetics make Tomorrowland work. And the Tron attraction does have that kinetic quality. You can see the vehicles come out of the ride, but I just don't see how it even just kind of looks good having two roller coasters next to each other. It feels weird in Florida, and it would feel even more weird here. I mean, I'm in New York,
especially because Tron is such a California. Tron is such a huge attraction as well. I mean, sure, they can scale it down.
And Disneyland is smaller.
Yeah.
Disneyland is smaller, and just if you were to take away interventions to build that, I don't think you could, by the way, because the street is right there. You wouldn't be able to expand out. But if they were to take away Autopia and revert the monorail, I don't even think you could fit it there. So I don't even think there's room for it necessarily. And also, it'd be too small to have just two roller coasters next to each other like that. It just doesn't seem right to me. I don't know quite how to articulate why. It just doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, Magic Kingdom has the space for it, so why not put two roller coasters? But here in Disneyland,
yes, I guess why not? It still feels weird, but in Disneyland, exactly. Yeah.
Alex, what about you?
I have not a lot of, but I have a few contacts who share insider information with me. So a lot of my own opinion
It's Mickey Mouse. He's the rat.
So a lot of my own opinion stems from the things that I've heard are supposedly going to be factual. From what I hear, and again, this is, some of these things I agree with, some of them I don't. But from what I hear, things like Space Mountain is going to remain the only roller coaster in Tomorrowland, but it's going to get completely rebuilt. I'm not talking about the dome. I'm talking about the actual track work. The idea is to remove the buildings that are attached to the dome and reconstruct new buildings that will house more indoor portions of the ride and turn Space Mountain into a chain roller coaster car kind of thing, like you would see at Space Mountain Mission 2 at Paris Disneyland.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the idea, is to make it a lot more thrilling and a lot more exciting using modern day roller coaster techniques. And
I don't mind this.
I don't agree with it though, because the whole thing that makes Space Mountain fun is that you're in this little tiny rocket and you're only with a small group of people. It's like when you're in a giant roller coaster with a huge crowd of people, it feels less intimate.
That's true.
And so
that's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but the idea is that they want to turn Disneyland Space Mountain into its own version of the Tron coaster. The idea that you're on this big train with a bunch of people and it's super exciting and stuff like that. And then things like the Star Tours building and the Buzz Lightyear building are going to stay, but there may not be the same rides, just different rides.
Fine with that, as long as they're good original attractions, which is hoping for a lot.
And then as for things like Autopia and the Submarine Voyage, they're going to completely disappear. They're going to be demolished without any word as to what's going to replace them. Supposedly nothing will replace them at the moment.
No kidding. Wow.
Because they're big, bulky, they're slow, and they're just not good for today's modern audience in that sense. The monorail will be slightly rerouted. It'll still come into Tomorrowland in the same way, but instead of looping and loop-de-looping around Autopia, it's going to go just straight into the park and then go around the Matterhorn and come into the station.
I love the looping. That's a little sad.
Yeah, but the problem with the looping is that the monorail goes up and over itself, which limits how tall you can build each monorail train. And they want to be able to fit more people in the monorails because they're too slow to load. So they want to add standing room, just like the Walt Disney World monorail.
Right.
And so in order to do that, they have to even out the track, and they have to, decrease the amount of loop-de-looping. They can still do loop-de-looping, but they'd have to make it so the clearance is a lot larger.
Oh, but, yeah, it's such tight clearance as it is.
Yeah. And so, and then lastly, I heard that it's actually more of a recent decision, but this is, again, take it with a grain of salt, because while I do have insiders, this stuff does change from month to month. But the current thinking is that they want to bring back the People Mover.
Good. I thought
but don't expect them to use the same track.
Of course
it's not possible. A lot of people think that you can just reinforce the track and that'll make it better. And it's like, yes, you might, but that's not the problem here. The bigger problem is the track is not currently designed to be safe enough for emergency evacuation the way modern code is. You'd have to add an extra catwalk on both sides of the People Mover track, the way that they did for Alice in Wonderland on the exterior portion. They had to widen the track on both sides, and so they would have to do that with the People Mover, and frankly, the ride track, no matter how you reinforce it, just wasn't designed for that kind of weight with all that extra concrete and stuff. So they would have to rebuild that altogether. And then even if that weren't the problem, the ride track inside the buildings is completely missing. It's gone. The ride track going through Space Mountain, gone. The ride track going through Buzz Lightyear, gone, because they built Buzz Lightyear in its place. So you can't weave it through the buildings anymore unless you remove the old rides and put a new ride in. But supposedly what they want to do with our new People Mover is make it a lot more like the one at Walt Disney World, in the sense that it will have roofs on it.
Okay.
Like shaded roofs.
Yeah.
And that will be about like the extent to its likeness to the one at Disney World.
Good.
As for,
so it's not going to use the same system, because I really am hoping for the levels that the original Disneyland one had.
That's something I'm not clear about. No one knows if they're gonna do like the one that I did, but I don't imagine that they're going to do it like they do at Walt Disney World, because that's overly expensive. And again, we talked about this last week, but it's not a very efficient system for running a ride. So it's more likely to be like it used to be at Disneyland with rubber tires.
Amazing.
So, yeah, but you see, the idea to bring back the People Mover is only like as recent as like 2 months, and the reason is because they started.
No kidding! Wow.
Because with the invention of Max Pass and all that, it's changed the way the parks operate, and it's made the lines way busy, stuff like that.
They're thinking about capacity attractions again. Well, good.
Well, it's not just about capacity attractions, but it's also about like it's about trying to create an attraction where people can relax, because for a while it was all about exciting attractions. But what they discovered was the People Mover at Walt Disney World in the last few months has become 4 times as popular as it ever used to.
So popular. Yeah.
And it's because they realized that people want a way to relax from all the hubbub. So
it's almost as if the original design and management philosophies were correct all along.
Who would?
Dick Eunice knew what he was doing.
Yeah. So that's kind of the idea is to do that, and then things like tours will supposedly get rethemed with a different theme altogether.
Okay.
Because they already have Galaxy's Edge, and Star Tours just doesn't nearly match the quality of Galaxy's Edge.
Right.
And it doesn't make sense anymore to have it there. Not from like a thematic, standpoint, but more of a sensibility standpoint. So, and then of course Buzz Lightyear, that is supposedly going to get rethemed, but we don't know if it's going to be rethemed to the same thing, but just upgraded, or if it's going to be completely changed out. But yeah, so that's from what, and then of course the Astro Orbiter what I heard is that's being moved to the very far back of the land, and it's going to have its own little area. And somebody was like agreeing with me that they might actually just retheme the way it looks, like not change out the machine, but retheme the way it looks so it looks more like the jetpacks at Walt Disney World, but using rockets still, not actual jetpacks like they have at Walt Disney or at Shanghai. But yeah, so the idea is to make it look like a big ball, but with rockets going around it. Okay. But that's what I hear. And so, yeah, we'll still have our, People Mover, monorail, super beefed up Space Mountain. And we'll have some kind of simulator ride and then some kind of Omnimover attraction. The idea is to do as minimal to the land as possible, but still maximizing what they already have. And for the most part, Tomorrowland still has its Googie style architecture. It's
just been kind of repainted.
Yeah. So the idea is just paint it back and, and then insert some more modern iterations of Googie style stuff like, the new planters at the entrance, all that. So that's what I hear. And for the most part, I agree with it, but I don't like the Space Mountain idea, but
yeah, it's a little weird. Any word, Alex, about using the Carousel Theater as its original intention? I'm not saying putting back Carousel of Progress, but having some sort of using that ride system in its original place.
No, that's what I was talking about. They are going to demolish that. Put the Astro Orbiter in its place.
Okay.
I feel like the rotating platforms wouldn't even be working anymore at this point, because who knows when was the last time they've actually used those.
They do work. I mean, but the problem is that
like 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, and it still works. It's just the problem is that the building, the roof is really unstable. From what they say, a lot of cast members who work in the Star Wars launch bay itself, some of them will tell you the roof is not stable, which is why they don't open the second floor anymore, because they're afraid something might happen. And as a matter of fact, that's also why, for the most part, they keep the center open area of the building closed quite often. They try to encourage people to use the surrounding area to get to where you need to go, to avoid the open area where the roof can come down. So that's what I hear.
Interesting.
But I don't know how true that is. But what I do know is, from what I hear in terms of development, that building is going to be completely demolished. Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
It'll be with the ages. A historic building.
Really, yeah. It'll really be a really sad moment when that building finally does get
that building
demolished.
Kind of has a very, very depressing history.
Yeah, that's true.
Housed two of the greatest attractions of all time, and then just
Star Wars Launch
became
Bay.
Interventions, and then became the Star Wars Launch Bay, and now hates it and it's going away. It's kind of sad. But we'll always have the history, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know how much I would agree with, because Alex used the words "do as little as possible" to the surrounding buildings.
Well, because the reason is, this would be, if you were to, let's just say you were to demolish most of the buildings and redo it with a whole new theme.
Sure.
You're talking like $3 billion.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like that's what would need to happen, at least, in my opinion, at least, because the buildings that we have now, I feel like if Disney were to do a new Tomorrowland, redo the entire thing, make it look like how it was, at least aesthetically wise, back in the 70s, late 60s. I feel like if they were going to go that route to just repaint the old buildings, I mean, they already repainted the old buildings in 1998 when they did the new whatever it was called, New Tomorrowland. And now I just feel like we're repainting the same buildings that have already been repainted again, back in like 2004 or 2005 when they tried to get rid of all that stuff. It just kind of weird. It feels weird to me.
Yes, but you have to think that those paint schemes are not the original. Those were completely different paint schemes.
Yeah.
Like all they're missing is their white paint scheme, really, and they'll look like they did in 1967. Mostly.
One more question for you, Alex. Any word, you probably not, about I know the murals are gone, but destroyed. But any word on recreating, doing a restoration, a recreating of those Mary Blair murals, or homage to the Mary Blair murals?
I haven't heard anything about that. I haven't heard anything about that, but I do know that, I mean, the murals are still there. They're extremely damaged, but they're still there.
But they could do a restoration. I'm just saying, because it seems like they're
Yeah.
going down this path of the nostalgia bait of it's going to look like the way you've always wanted to visit it. You're not going to be like that. And I feel like they would do something like, redo those murals.
Yeah.
They're more likely to turn the current murals into giant screens, to be honest. That's probably what they're more likely to do.
Ooh, I don't like that for tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be Times Square.
I'm just spitballing here, but yeah, I haven't heard anything about the old murals. To be honest, I don't foresee them doing anything like, except, if they did do something that pays,
I think Kim Irvine would want to do that, though. I think that,
but the problem,
we have to remember, she's art director.
But the problem is that those murals are yellow. Like, they don't look futuristic. They look very old. And so it's like,
they could refresh them, or they could make new. They could recreate them, make them look a little fresh. Redo some of the color styling. I would trust Kim Irvine with that for Mary Blair. And or just like Kim Irvine and a team of artists design like new murals that are in the same fashion as kind of like a tip of the hat.
Tip of the hat.
Yeah, I don't know. See, here's the thing. As a historian, I have a lot of respect for those old murals, and I think they are amazing and they're a work of art, but I don't think they belong in Tomorrowland at all. I never thought they did. And I think
we talked about this before. Yeah.
And I think that, they just don't look right. They're there because they wanted art. They wanted something, but they're not there because it was like, we wanted to spend a ton of money on something. They were there because they were like, we need something to cover these buildings. And so that's kind of why they're there. They weren't there because it was a part of the master plan. It was just kind of weird. It was just like, oh, well, here's the rest of the ideas. Now I need something to cover these buildings because we can't have these two giant white walls here.
I don't know. I think if it won, I love those murals. I think they kind of fit wonderfully because there's something about that version of Tomorrowland in the late 60s and through the early 70s that like almost feels like you're going to a modern art museum where it's not necessarily about like it's sci-fi. It's like, well, I don't think that's a problem. I think that was actually something that was really cool about it, and it's actually, I think, informed how modern art museums are designed today.
Yeah. Well, you don't go to Tomorrowland to see. That's the thing.
These are the murals we're talking about, guys.
I don't know.
Yeah. So some people are wondering about the murals we're talking about. So as Matt's showing you, these were the murals that used to be on top of what is now today the Astro Blasters building and also the the Star Tours building. The one on the Star Tours building was actually much larger.
That's crazy to compare the two.
The one on the Star Tours building was much larger. It extended to the ground. These murals, for the most part, are actually still there. They're covered up by the new mural. They installed brackets over the old ones, but in order to install the brackets, they had to knock out a few tiles here and there in order to install the brackets. But yes, the murals are still there, covered up by these new ones that were installed in the 80s and then updated recently in the 2000s. But the old murals are still there. They didn't have the heart to completely remove them. But believe me, they are extremely damaged. There are plenty of holes in them because they had to install the brackets on the buildings that hold up the new murals. So yeah, but you see, they're beautiful in their own sense. Like they are beautiful, but I don't believe they work in Tomorrowland. They just don't work. They might fit right outside the It's a Small World mall, but they don't fit in Tomorrowland. So just visually speaking, I mean,
Sure.
the message that they send is actually the message about how the future affects the children of our world. So yeah, in that sense, they do fit. But yeah, I have very different opinions, I guess, on these murals. And like I said, as a historian, I highly respect them, and I'm glad that they're still there. And that's a fun fact I can tell people is like, hey, they're underneath the new murals. But aside from that, I'm just like, I don't think we should bring them back. I think they should be moved. So
I do think they should be taken down and donated to the Walt Disney Family Museum and put them on display there.
Yeah, by all means, Or like I just said, move them to Small World or something, put these giant murals.
Oh, yeah, like still use them in the park. That would be nice.
Yeah, or if anything, create a new place for them in Tomorrowland. I told you they were going to build a specific place for the Astro Orbiter. They could build this giant half circle with these huge murals there.
Yeah.
They could do something like that. So, but I just don't believe that where they are right now should be where they stay. So yeah, but I mean, anyway, back to the buildings themselves. Like basically with just a white coat of paint, you can make them look a lot like they used to. And I don't think I have anything more to add to that.
Okay. Tomorrowland, you guys. I love talking Tomorrowland. Well, we do have one final voicemail to get to here before we sign off for the day. This is a quick one, I'm sure. So
I'm going to take a nap after this.
Let's go ahead and listen to this voicemail from Disney Damon.
Hi, guys. It's Disney Damon from the Discord. I had a quick question for you guys. I was recently in the parks, and the Haunted Mansion was closed, and cast members said it was down for refurb. Is it something more serious? Is this just a routine maintenance? Because I've researched and I haven't found a reopening date for the attraction anywhere. So thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye.
Oh, okay. So this is something we touched on in News from the
talked
Peak.
About it earlier, yeah.
Just general maintenance, updating the ADA, wheelchair stuff, and maybe some touch-ups around the exterior
and
of the building.
Some glowing wall, perhaps, that we don't really know anything about.
Glowing wall made of steel for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Also, I wanted to answer a question a lot of people were asking earlier in the chat. This has nothing to do. A lot of people want to know if I've been on Rise of the Resistance.
Oh, yeah.
And I have not, because it's too stressing to get one of those dumb boarding passes and to wait all day and do it's just I don't go to Disneyland. I don't go to Disneyland to be stressed out. I go to Disneyland to relieve my stress. So Bingo. I don't want to do that. So people are wondering when I'm going to go ride it. Well, as soon as they get rid of the boarding pass, if they do, get rid of the boarding pass and do a standby queue line, I might do that. But it's looking like I probably won't ride the ride till next year. So again, like I tell people, when the ride Midway Mania came out in DCA in 2007, I didn't ride it for 10 years. I waited 10 years to go on. I didn't ride it till 2017.
It's not even worth the 10-year wait, I feel
because
no, definitely it did not age well. It was fun the first few times,
I waited so long because the line was just too long to go on it. So I'm dead serious. I will not go on a ride when the line is that long. That's ridiculous. That's not worth my life. So so I probably won't go on Rise of the Resistance for at least a year from now. And I might even just use my disability pass to get on. But that being said, I probably still won't. So
but Alex,
I don't know.
If I'm coming in April, we're getting boarding passes. You know that, right? You and me.
If you come in April, I probably won't go. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Well, maybe, you know what? I haven't made any plans. I know I'm trying to go home to Southern California in April. Maybe I'll see if I'll come for around your birthday. Maybe.
Oh, we'll okay. All three of us. Alex, if Jeremy and I get boarding
pass with you.
Alex has to do it if both of us are doing it.
My birthday is on May 2nd. So if you come around that time, we can celebrate my birthday.
Oh, I wish I had like unlimited vacation days. I would just wish I didn't have a job, but I like money. You guys know the age-long question, the problem we all face. But anyways,
adulthood.
Adult.
Yeah, it's really something.
I'm an adult, you guys. I hate it. But anyways, I gotta do taxes. But I guess that wraps up this week's episode of Matterhorn Mondays. A lot of great discussions that came out of this episode. Very glad. Yeah, if you guys have any thoughts, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on how you thought Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, first impressions on that, as well as the brand new Spaceship Earth transformation that we're going to be getting in a few months. That's going to be going down for refurb, as well as all the... I really want to hear your guys' thoughts on that Beauty and the Beast prequel series coming to Disney Plus.
Oh my god.
You already know. I'm going to binge that. And I'm going to do a full spoiler review.
I was suspicious about why they were doing a LeFou-centric film in France, in the France pavilion.
Oh, yeah.
I knew they were up to something. I knew it.
Gosh,
they're trying to get people to like love LeFou.
What's not to love?
LeFou people. Love him.
They're trying to make him like Olaf.
Imagine.
Just because Josh Gad played him in the live action.
You got to pick whose side you prefer to be on. Go, come on, it's the song. No one.
From Gaston. Okay.
You came in a very weird part.
Yeah.
No, because we're talking about LeFou. You gotta
I understand.
And loving him. So you gotta, you gotta pick. Never mind.
No, I get you now.
You're not real Disney fans. You're just a bunch of fakers, the two of you.
Oh,
no, we're not.
God.
Maybe Matt is.
Oops.
Were you about to play Alex in the Park?
Miss Click. Sorry, guys. Alex in the Parks. Miss Click.
Alex in the Park.
Sarah said I do taxes for a living. Just send them to me. Sarah. You got my email, right, Sarah? ytmatterhornmatt@gmail.com.
She just wants to have access to your financial information, that's all.
You're going to cry when you see it. Nothing but depression, I'm sure, Sarah. So it's not even worth your time if you're interested just for that. But anyways, yeah. Love to hear.
Let's end this
guys.
Shipwreck of a...
Well, as always, 575-386-5814 if you guys would like to leave a voicemail later on throughout the week, because it's not just during the episodes that we take voicemails. Leave a voicemail later in the week. We'll listen to it when we come back to the stream, come back to the episode on a Sunday when we record. And yeah, as well as Jeremy's Twitter will be down in the description below, as well as Alex's Twitter and his YouTube channel. Be sure to go subscribe to Alex. And yeah, do you guys have any closing thoughts you'd like to say before we end off the episode?
Yes, I think that a theme based off of light and how our society, has evolved using light is amazing, and I think Jeremy is wrong.
I think that it is contrived, forced, a little bit tacky, and I think Alex is wrong. But I'm open to the idea.
And I think that Jeremy is pretentious. And
shots fired.
Guys,
save it for Matterhorn Mondays After Dark. Come on, guys. The non-existent podcast.
No. I haven't been invited.
I think Alex is pulling my leg. I think he's just. Like...
I haven't been invited onto that show yet.
Because it hasn't happened yet.
No, even in the talks, you guys don't even mention my name.
What are we talking about? I tuned
Matterhorn
out
Mondays
for a
After Dark.
Listen, if you want to drink alcohol with us and talk about Disney and who knows what else comes up, you're more than welcome. But here's the thing: you'll be like me. You'll be like the frequent guest. But I'm the co-host for that one.
When Matt came to Disneyland for Christmas last year, we went to Trader Sam's and we got alcohol drinks, and Matt is like he's like how he is now, but like 10 times more when he's drinking. Like it's
gonna be fun. That's the whole
unbearable. Unbearable. He's just
Alex. I must say, I had an amazing time getting drunk with you in Disneyland. So thank you for that.
God, I'm
Matt.
such a...
If I get out there for your birthday, we're going hardcore. I hope
Yes!
you understand it.
Oga's Cantina all day, baby. Just kidding. It's too expensive.
I just remember Matt laughing at me the entire night, just laughing at me, and I'm like, "What? Am I saying something funny? I think everything's funny?" And he's just like, "Yes."
Well, stay tuned, you guys. Matterhorn Mondays After Dark. That's coming.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. Yeah,
we'll figure that out. I'll work on that today. I'll try to schedule that.
All right, because I have no idea how we're gonna structure that, but we'll figure it out, you guys. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a hoot for sure. But
we're gonna have a hoot.
Yeah,
and have a hoot with us, will you? We hope you do.
Yes. Okay. Well, as you guys know, I need to use the restroom, so it's time to sign off for the episode. Thank you all for coming to today's episode as well. If you guys would like to tune in live, you can do so every Sunday at 11. No, what time does it normally start? It's 11 a.m. Disneyland time, 12 p.m. my time. So every Sunday, except for this week, we started an hour late. So if you're interested, follow me on Twitter. I post updates on what time we go live. But normally it's Sundays.
All right, everyone's leaving. They want us to be over right now.
Well, thank you everybody for coming, and as always, have have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye.